Hello, Jen here with a layout for Tuesday's inspiration. This is this week's inspiration piece. So, kind of, video number 2 for the series this week as I play a bit of catch up. And this week's inspiration is brought to us by Lynda, and there it is. It just popped up on the screen. It's this beautiful picture of a monarch butterfly that she took. It's really, really beautiful. And so I thought, I'm going for it. I'm going to be very literal with this inspiration piece, and I'm going to use butterflies. It's actually something I don't use all that often in my scrapping, so it was kind of fun. And so the first thing I did, tell me if this is the first thing that popped into your mind too. But remember way back when you were in kindergarten or preschool? For me, it was definitely kind of like that kindergarten age, when you would paint half of your picture and then you would fold your paper in half and transfer the other half onto the other side of the paper. And oftentimes what you would end up with when you did that kind of technique in school was a beautiful butterfly. And so I don't know, but my brain kind of jumped to that right away. And so I thought that might be a fun technique to do to create my background. And so that's what you saw me doing right there with this white paper. So I used watercolor. It definitely, I knew I was going to have to do this pretty fast because I'm just using regular old cardstock, nothing fancy, just the normal cardstock that I always use. And so it does absorb the watercolors pretty quickly. And so I kind of kept them a little bit more wet and gushy and worked pretty fast. I didn't overcomplicate it by trying to actually make the shape of a butterfly or, add any details or anything like that. It was more just to have fun and kind of almost have that like hidden meaning in the layout that is something that only I would remember when I'm kind of flipping through, that little personal message that I know that the inspiration was butterflies, and I kind of used the butterfly painting technique. I don't know what the official term is. Mirroring. It's like a mirroring, I guess. But anyways, so I worked pretty fast and kind of splotched on some color. I went with some oranges because, again, it's that monarch butterfly. So I thought, well, go ahead and add some orange. And then I did a little bit of pink because I knew my photo here that you can see right now was mostly greens and blues. And so I thought the oranges and the pinks would kind of work as a nice contrast to that. And then I splattered a little bit of black and kind of, smushed that all down to get that mirrored butterfly effect in my background, and then sat it to the side to go ahead and dry. And now I'm working on some layers. So I literally just grabbed my stack of 6x6 papers. I've pulled these out to work on them before. I've thrown them into my How to Kill a Kit with Style kits before. Most of these papers come from Scrapbooking Cards Today from their sampler packs, and I just kind of threw in, as I had them, other 6x6 pieces as well, and some of them are even smaller than that now because I've kind of used bits and pieces of them. So some of them are scraps, like you can see that piece there has some hexagons cut out of it, and I'm just slowly working my way through them. They're not all from the same company. They're not all matching. Some of them are several years old and some of them are a little bit newer than that. It's just kind of a mishmash. And so I literally went through it kind of looking for a few pieces that popped out to me, mostly because of the colors. So I was looking for some blues and some greens and florals. I thought that might be kind of a nice little element, a little detail to have some florals in there. And yeah, that's kind of it. I found that butterfly paper. I think that's a Paige Evans paper. And so I thought I'll go ahead and throw that in since this is butterfly themed anyways. And the back of it was that nice intense green. So I thought it would be good to have a little pop of that green color. And yeah, no real rhyme or reason to it. Just this is kind of a good technique. This what are we going to call this? Like a photo embellishment cluster? Not even, it's like a photo layered matting. Let's call it layered matting behind our photo. This is a go-to for me. I know it's a go-to for a lot of us, and I kind of feel like it's a bit of an old school technique. It's one of the first things that I worked on when I was really starting to do scrapbooking and create process videos. I really loved doing these larger layered mats around my photos and kind of worked on it as, something that I wanted to practice to figure out how to balance them, how to get kind of the right amount of every color and pattern poking out, how to layer different patterns so that they complement each other rather than all just kind of blend into each other. So it's definitely something that I feel is a little bit kind of old school that way. And some people do it way more naturally than other people. So I definitely think if you are like me and love to do some mixed media on your backgrounds and then you need to take some time and let that dry, practicing these sort of layered photo mats is definitely something you can do. And it's literally just about, what catches your eye, how do you layer maybe more solid colors of pattern papers on top of busier patterns, how you layer the colors so that you have maybe contrasting colors sitting on top of each other so that they complement and kind of pop each one of them rather than all kind of blend into one big mishmash of color or pattern. So it's kind of fun, and everyone has their own little personal flair with it, I think. But for me, I feel like it's a bit of an old school technique that I like to go to every once in a while in sort of that like comfort zone kind of way. I think I've said this before in some of my videos that it's just one of those things that when you get busy and you're kind of creating a whole bunch of videos or you're creating for design teams and stuff like that, and you don't always have the ability to kind of just sit there and play and experiment and, work through the process. Sometimes, I oversimplify my layers a little bit, but in this case, I had to wait for that background anyways. So I thought, let's do it. We'll just, you make it look right. And when it feels like it's done and it feels like it's balanced, then that's when it's done and that's when it's perfect. And so there you go. That's my little grouping of layers. And then I grabbed these die cuts. They are from Dollar Tree. I have several packs of these because they sort of came in like colors. There was these green ones. I think I have a pack of blue ones. I think I have a pack of like pinks and reds, more pinks, I think. Pinks and purples maybe is more accurate. And a pack that's more kind of realistic looking butterflies. But they're huge. That big one there, I think there was maybe like 6 of each size in different patterns. That big one is actually bigger than my photo. It's larger than 4x6. It's maybe like 4.5 by 6.5 or 4.5 by 7. It's quite big. And then those sort of medium-sized ones, and then there's some teeny tiny ones there too. And I didn't really have any specific plan for these. I just sort of started to fit them in where I thought they looked okay and kind of nestled nicely around the photo and around each other. And I'm using some foam to pop up some of those wings. I did use some foam in the photo layers as well to kind of pop up that photo. And then it's really just about putting these little butterflies of different sizes and, mixing and matching the patterns, because this pack is mostly all green. There's a few with little pops of purples and blues in it, but it's mostly all green. So it's kind of just about mixing and matching those patterns so that you can see each of the butterflies and covering them up and layering them, but not covering any one specific butterfly so much that you can't tell that it's a butterfly. And then I also have these little stickers that are popped up on foam pieces. also from Dollar Tree. And I just thought I'd grab a couple of those to give again some of that contrasting color and bring in a little bit of the pinks and the oranges that are in my background. So yeah, I got all those down. I didn't do too many. I didn't go overboard, but you definitely could. It really depends on what you're doing. With the butterflies, I feel like you want to be able to see each one of them. But if you were doing a different shape, if you were doing a more basic shape like circles or squares or something like that, you could definitely build the layers much more by having different sizes and different colors and patterns of your shape. But butterflies are a little bit more detailed, and I think kind of the same with flowers. You could build up some flowers kind of cascading down through your layout as well. I think we've all done layouts like that before. And I think the trick is you kind of build up the layers, but you still want to be able to see that they're flowers. So you don't want to cover them up so much that you can't tell what it is. So I think because some of those butterflies are so large, I went with erring on the side of caution and not overdoing it with them. Then I went back into my little bag, something I have shown you guys before in the past that has all of my kind of chipboard stickers and that kind of thing, and grabbed a few things from Paige Evans again. I didn't intend for her to kind of take over the layout, but she just happens to have a lot of butterflies in her collections, and so those ones I actually put down. I think they're moths, not butterflies, but it works and I kind of liked it. And a couple of little words there and then a title that says Good Life. I don't know why. It's just what I had and I thought that's what we're going with. It is a good life. It was such a beautiful view, and we are so lucky to be able to have traveled across Canada multiple times and do these trips with our kids multiple times. So it works. The title kind of worked. And then my finishing touch is, rather than doing a sketchy border, which I really, really wanted to do, I was fighting the urge to do it, but I thought I'm going to try something just a little bit different. And I did a kind of hash mark or dotted line border, sort of to replicate what you would do if you were making the butterflies look like they were flying, with the little kind of hash lines. I don't know what those are called, the like fly lines. So that's what I did around the edge instead. And then of course I am outlining all of my pattern papers. That is something that I like to do because it does kind of define all of your patterns and define all of those layers. If I was using solid colors, I probably wouldn't do that, but with some of the patterns, I think it kind of helps just make them pop a little bit more. And that is my layout for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please check out Hollie, Mel, and Lynda's work. We have a master playlist where you can see all of our videos. And until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.